And I am your host here in Harlingen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley of deep South Texas. Got an interesting program for you lined up today. In just a little bit, our Julian Resendiz is going to be joining us as we share some news about the future of Border Report Live and one of the best correspondents that this program could have. So we'll talk to him in just a little bit. But first, as always, we're going to start today's program by taking a look at what's trending across the border, starting with a New Jersey pastor accused of overstaying a tourist visa more than 10 years ago was taken into custody by immigration agents while working at his day job, according to church members. Ison Cortez Vasquez was detained by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement in late March. He's a pastor at the Gathering Place Church in Elizabeth. Officials from the National Latino Evangelical Coalition said Vasquez had no criminal record. They say he is ministering other detainees while in custody at Delaney Hall Detention Facility in Newark. A Department of Homeland Security spokesperson said the pastor illegally entered the country in January 2016 from Colombia. Vasquez allegedly overstayed a tourist visa that expired in July 2016. Church leaders were hoping he would be released in time for Easter services, but DHS says Vasquez will remain in ICE custody until he is deported. In Marion County, Oregon, the sheriff's office has released footage of an arrest carried out by the Department of Homeland Security at a courthouse late last month. 2 arrests were made on that day by DHS, but it is the process of how they were done that is raising concerns. Reporter Anthony Costura has our story.
This is the moment federal agents moved in to make an arrest inside the courthouse on March 26th. Newly released silent footage from the Marion County Sheriff's Office shows multiple agents surrounding an unidentified man on the 5th floor, then taking him to the ground during a brief struggle. Deputies say the man resisted arrest but claim they did not intervene. Instead, they say federal agents carried it out using an administrative warrant. Moments later, the man is handcuffed and taken into an elevator. Officials say he had been in court on drug possession and DUI charges. It is unclear where he was taken after the arrest. It's a second arrest, though, drawing scrutiny, involving 39-year-old Daniel Lopez Mojica. Video shows deputies taking Lopez Mojica into custody and turning him over to federal agents. This time, sheriff's deputies did assist, confirming a federal judge signed a judicial warrant. That's a key factor that legally allows local deputies to assist. Both arrests happened inside the courthouse, but outside the courtrooms. The sheriff's office says deputies acted within the law and focused on maintaining safety.
That was Anthony Costura reporting. He says the law hinges on how federal agents execute the arrests. Legal experts say the hands-off approach deputies used is lawful as long as they have the correct type of warrant. The Oregon Department of Justice says state law prohibits civil arrests in state courthouses without a judicial warrant. There's disagreement in Florida over plans to turn a warehouse into an ICE detention center. Bradford County commissioners are holding a public hearing to discuss the facility outside of Strake, Florida. That is halfway between Jacksonville and Gaines. The plans call for leasing the building to a private company. The idea was pitched by Bradford County Sheriff Gordon Smith. He says it wouldn't cost the county money and it would generate up to 1,200 full-time jobs.
It would be negligence on me not to at least offer that opportunity for something to come, especially for that many jobs.
When you have an ICE facility, oftentimes you have protesters coming. So to me, the health, well-being, and safety of the residents is far greater than the benefit.
Commissioners approved those plans back in January. And that's a look at what's trending across the border. Remember, for these stories and everything that more that's happening across the border, you can always visit borderreport.com. So today, getting into our El Paso correspondent, Julian Resendiz, it's a little bit of a bittersweet week for us on Border Report Live because Julian, one of the original correspondents for borderreport.com, long before this program ever became into existence, everything was happening online at borderreport.com. Well, it is his final days here with us. He is moving on. The U.S.-Mexico border is nearly 2,000 miles long, and Julian has been covering a large swath of that border for us from Big Bend, which we've been talking about a lot recently, to El Paso, New Mexico, and even as far as parts of Arizona. I wanted to bring in Julian now, not just to say thank you for all your contributions you've made over several years now to BorderReport.com and, of course, Border Report Live, but to talk about some of those contributions. Tell us a little bit about what you think the biggest stories you covered are here on BorderReport.com, Julian.
Frankly, quite shocking to the rest of the nation. For us here on the border, we're kind of familiar with it, although not on this massive scale that we saw. There on your screen, you see people of potential migrants, potential political asylum seekers coming to Juarez, Mexico, on trains originating from southern Mexico. We cover numerous stories about the anguish, all the perils that these migrants from Venezuela, from Guatemala, from Honduras endured on the way here. And then we also cover, obviously, when they arrived at the Rio Grande and just surrender en masse to U.S. Border Patrol agents. We saw a great shift in policy from the first Trump administration to the Biden administration in the way these claims were handled. Primarily, they were not rejected offhand as it was during the years of 2020, especially with the Title 42 COVID emergency measure that pretty much said we have a medical emergency, you cannot come in. Still, people found ways to circumvent the ports of entry, to circumvent the portions of the border wall that were guarded. And obviously, with the help of Mexican smugglers, they were able to come in here.
And you know, Julian, going back to Title 42, I know down here in Brownsville, when I was reporting from the border, just you worked here for a long time talking about your career. You worked in Brownsville for many years. I was right down there, just where Fort Brown is, right behind Texas Southmost College, when Title 42, that night, it was coming to an end. You know, tell us a little bit more about what you saw over in El Paso in those final hours leading into the end of that, end of the Title 42 era.
Yeah, that was May of 2024, I believe, and it was kind of anticlimactic because all of us, newspaper and television reporters from all over the country, descended on El Paso, on San Isidro in South Texas. They were waiting to see a great flood of people coming across. trying to take advantage of the fact that this emergency order that I mentioned, Title 42, was done away with. However, the opposite happened. What you're seeing on your screen are images just prior to the end of Title 42. It's kind of like counterintuitive. If there's a law that prevents you from coming in, why are you coming in? Why are you not waiting for it? We saw the great rush on the last days of Title 42, and then when Title 42 ended, we didn't see many people. I think the message got across that the U.S. was no longer going to give them a paper so they could come in and go to court whenever their court date appears, and this kind of slowed down the flow of migration. Obviously, this was further followed up when Trump took office with an absolute suspension of all asylum applications, and that brought us to where we are today, which is a border with very few migrant encounters or apprehensions, a lot of soldiers, a lot of technology, even some military vehicles, very, very highly visible on both sides of the border.
Yeah, I remember as you described it, it was just so anticlimactic. They had sent me down there to Brownsville when this was all happening over at Fort Brown, and I just remember law enforcement agencies from all around Cameron County, which is Texas's southernmost county. As far as Los Fresnos, San Benito, sending law enforcement officers in their vehicles down to Gateway International Bridge in downtown Brownsville, but nothing happened. There was no crowding.
Nobody came.
It was just so quiet, too. It was eerily quiet. I remember staying out there. It was 11 o'clock hour, well, about 10 p.m. your time, I think, out there in El Paso when it officially expired. And just like you said, no one came. It was like a ghost town out there.
Yeah, and the big lesson that we learned from the end of Title 42 is that messaging is very important. Like I said, when I talked to the few migrants that approached the border, I asked him, well, where's the rest of your family? Where are they? And he told me, well, they're waiting to see what happens. They're not going to come until they see what happens. So messaging on the part of the current administration, whether that was Biden or Trump 1 or Trump 2, is very, very important as far as what happens. Now, let me tell you that at the end of Title 42 and prior to January 2025, when Trump came over, we still had a lot of movement on the fringes. And that's when the cartel really took over. Mm-hmm. As it is, the cartel has always been very aware of spreading its message. You cannot cross here without paying me the tax. And in some cases, when people refuse, they've been kidnapped. They're still being kidnapped today, the few of them that come. But that's what we saw at the end of Title 42. The few migrants that came either went or were recruited straight by the cartel, and they were passed through the fringes. And then we saw another phenomenon that I reported on, and that is a huge increase in the number of migrants who were dying in the desert, in the mountains, trying to evade the Border Patrol. In all fairness, Rudy, when somebody comes from Guatemala City or from Caracas, Venezuela, it's not enough to have a map. You come to the border and you don't know the lay of the land. You don't know which roads take you to the border wall. So you have to depend on cartel. So the onus there is obviously on the cartel for taking so many people through those dangerous routes. And in many cases, according to testimonial evidence that I've gathered from court, the guides, the cartel people just abandon them. Either abandon them when they get hurt jumping over the border wall or going over the mountains, or just abandon them when they get tired in the desert and they ask for help, carry me, and the smuggler just says, that's not my job, good luck.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, Julian, but when we come back, we're going to talk about a lot of other things that you covered in your time during BorderReport.com with us here at BorderReport.com, including the El Paso Walmart shooting, something that you and I have talked about in the past. So stay with us. Border Report Live will be back in 2 minutes. welcome back to this edition of Border Report Live. El Paso correspondent Julian Resendiz joining us today as he gets ready to move on to bigger and better things, including working on that book that he's been so long waiting to get cracking on. One of the things that you covered in your time with Border Report, Julian, was the shooting at the El Paso Walmart right there in your area of coverage. Fill us in on that day and the aftermath of all that.
Rudy, in the first 3 months we were in operation, I covered two very traumatic events. Both of them involve the killing of a large number of people. One happened here in El Paso. The other one happened just south of the border with Arizona. And that was the killing of 9 Americans who were part of a Mormon community down there. But going back to Walmart, that happened on August 3rd, 2019. And I think I've told the story before on this show. It was a Saturday morning. I was covering a town hall by the local congresswoman, and then she interrupted and told the auditorium folks, we gotta cut it short because there's been a mass shooting at Walmart. And all of us, the audience, myself, the other journalists, we just stayed there stunned for several minutes because we could not comprehend those words or understand that something like that could have happened. But it did. In all fairness, it was a time in which political animosity was speaking. A lot of people, including President Trump, were talking about the invasion of migrants and all that. And amid this climate, one young man in North Texas wrote a manifesto and set off for El Paso. The result was that he approached a Walmart. We call it down here, we used to call it at least the Mexican Walmart because it's close to one of the international bridges, and you can see license plates from Chihuahua, Mexico all the time. So he walked into the store, opened fire, and in the end, 23 people died, and at least 22 others were injured. I got there a few minutes after the shooting, just as the last of the ambulances were leaving the scene. And I was stunned. I just went on automatic pilot and started talking to survivors, started talking to employees, and obviously they were horrified at what happened. But the main feeling that I got there from the scene was disbelief. How can this happen here? How we are one of the we're classified as one of the most peaceful, crime-free cities in America. But this just came out of nowhere, and it had to do with immigration, as the trial of Patrick Crucius proved later on. So every time I see the images, really, I just don't know what to say, because I remember that morning, and I think I'm still stunned from what I saw. I think that in the end, with the sentence, the life terms, multiple life terms for the shooter, I think that brought a little bit of a closure to the community, because obviously to the families there will never be closure. I've lost loved ones, and you never forget it. It always hurts. It always makes you cry. So my feelings are with those survivors, those relatives.
You mentioned there the closure that came from those multiple life sentences that Patrick Crucius is going to be serving. At one point, the death penalty was on the table for Crucius after these crimes that he committed that day at that Walmart in El Paso. Did community members, family members, survivors ever have anything to say once the death penalty was taken off the table by the new U.S. attorney that came in long after that?
Well, what I can tell you is the discussion before the decision was taken, and there was a lot of mixed feelings. We heard from both sides, from those who wanted the ultimate penalty to those who would have been content with the final outcome, which was multiple life sentences. And yeah, politics did play a part in, first of all, in the federal government deciding not to seek the death penalty. And then, of course, the back and forth at the local level, death penalty or not death penalty. In a way, it was just, adding to the trauma. Some people did not need that debate did not need the politics. What I can tell you is that there is some sort of closure. Sometimes I go to that Walmart to shop still, and I stop by the memorial. They built a memorial at the edge of the parking lot. It resembles a transparent column, and there's an inscription there. And sometimes I'm not the only one. Sometimes I just park there and remember the trauma that day. So that's kind of like a reminder for the community. But I can tell you that Walmart is still, the parking lot is still full. People are still going there, and people maybe they have not moved on, but they went back to the routines.
Going on to those other deaths that you were just talking about, 9 Americans just south of the border in, I believe you said it was Arizona. Tell us about that for folks that may not remember that story.
Right. So the Walmart massacre happened in August. 2 months later, again, another traumatic event that I had to cover, and that is that three families from a Mormon community in the state of Chihuahua, in the northern border Mexican state of Chihuahua, were set up on 3 vehicles. They were driving to Arizona, and along the way, as they were driving in a caravan for safety, members of La Línea drug cartel reportedly mistook them for a caravan of vehicles from a rival, from a cell of the rival Sinaloa cartel, and they opened fire. It was a hail of bullets, and also there are some reports that the Mexican government has not really ever said definitively happened. But the fact is that some of the vehicles ended up on fire. A lot of talk about the cartel setting the vehicles on fire after the shooting. I don't know if they checked who they were killing or not. But the bad part about this is that the victims were 3 women and 6 children. Nothing to do with cartel, nothing to do with organized crime. They were just going from their community, the rural community. I believe they were headed to Arizona. This happened at the Chihuahua-Sonora border, far west, southwest of El Paso. That's where you get New Mexico on the Chihuahua side, and you get Arizona on the Sonora side. So, again, just talking to the families of the survivors, has been traumatic, and it's something that we had to cover, but it never leaves a good taste in your mouth to see that this happened. I can tell you that in this case, at least from a personal level, I don't feel there has been full closure. A lot of people have been arrested. Up to 30 people have been arrested, including the police chief of a small town, one government official from another small town. We've never seen the cartel leaders who told this man, be on the lookout, your orders are to shoot to kill. We've never seen those people come to justice. I will add that there was a judgment in a U.S. federal courtroom in the northern United States that held La Línea civilly liable for those killings. And the awards were $4.6 billion. Wow. Again, it was a symbolic verdict because it has not been collected. Who are you going to collect it from? Who are the leaders of the La Línea? That business, many people get killed. It's not a lifelong career. So there's rumors that the leader at the time is already dead. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions. I wish not only I had the time, but also the emotional fortitude to go back there, because it was hard.
We're speaking with Julian Resendiz, one of the original correspondents for BorderReport.com and Border Report Live. And unfortunately, we're out of time. But really quick, Julian, I wanted to just say thank you. I've learned so much from you, not just about being a journalist and being a good journalist at that, but just so much about the border. I knew my little slice of the puzzle down here, my little slice of the pie in South Texas, but I've learned so much from both sides of the Rio Grande and beyond, thanks to you. So from all of us here at Border Report Live, Diana Maldonado, our executive producer, and everybody that has a hand in this, just thank you so much for everything you've done for the program. And we wish you the best of luck. And who knows, maybe our paths will cross again, this time with you as a guest in the future.
Absolutely, Rudy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We still got you for another day, so don't think you're off the hook quite yet, but thanks for joining us. All right, stay with us. Border Report Live is back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to this edition of Border Report Live. Before we go, we just wanted to remind you that you can stay informed on the stories shaping the U.S.-Mexico border on your commute home. Maybe you're out walking the dog or you're at the gym getting a workout in, as Border Report Live brings you real-time updates, expert insights, and voices from both sides of the border in podcast form. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, your Spotify app. I know you've already got one of those, as well as the video and audio versions on YouTube. That is going to do it for us today. For one of the last times saying this, for Julian Resendiz in El Paso, my name is Rudy Medeiros here in Harlingen, Texas. We'll see you next time.